Welcome to another episode of Mr. Therapist and the Counselor Podcast, where we discuss mental health and recovery topics, and our mission is to demystify the process of therapy. Look into my eyes, Jesse. And we do that through real, honest, and authentic conversations. My name is Manny Romero. Jesse O.
This week on the show, the listeners they've spoken. They've provided questions. This week, we're going to do a little Q&A. Yeah. They gave us some fuel. Here's the fire. So we're going to answer viewer questions on this episode of Mr. Therapist and the Counselor.
That is correct. Make sure you share the show if you find some value. Please subscribe. Give us a sub. And thank you so much for all the questions you guys have submitted, man. This is it.
This is beautiful. Here we go, right? This is showtime.
This is it.
It's on. Lights, camera.
Action.
Glasses.
Ooh, you look
I'm wearing
good
glasses now. You know, my glasses are inspired. Everybody wants to know why, Jesse. Why are you wearing glasses? Well, I can't fucking see. But no, I was like, I wanted some really like thick frames, kind of like Buddy Holly. You know who Buddy Holly is?
I don't. I don't.
I know you didn't, but like,
just trying to shame me in front of the
world.
My
glasses inspiration is from Henry Rollins in the '90s. A video called "Liar." Gen Z, look it up. Gen X, look it back up. It's but anyways, I gotta rock glasses, dude.
Yeah, dude, you look good.
It's a new style, man.
It looks very hipster.
Sophisticated. Hipster?
Hipster.
No, bro.
Yeah.
Just very sophisticated.
Okay. Yeah.
So, how you checking in this week?
Checking in good, bud.
Yeah. Don't buddy me right now.
Checking in good. So we've had some technical issues, but isn't that just the show, man?
That's just the show. We're not
just that life.
Let's talk about it.
So you telling me to stuff down my emotions right now?
I'm telling you, let's just talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah. No. Let's.
You ask me how I'm checking in. You're like, don't talk about it. Come on,
man.
dude.
Not in like the last hour of technical problems, but like what's going on?
Life.
What about you? How are you checking in today?
Checking in good.
You good?
Checking in good.
Yeah.
Checking in good. Checking in good. My let's see what's up
this
with
summer,
life.
man.
Oh, this summer's been great, dude.
Yeah.
This summer's been good. It's been hot out here.
You're straight up in that pool all the time.
Been going to the beach.
You're like a dolphin.
You know where my ball is? It's like this.
Oh, is that the new like?
Yeah.
Is that like my gun thing now?
My gun,
okay, that's so modern, bro.
Gun show.
Where'd you get that from? The kids?
I think I got it from Larry the Lobster from SpongeBob SquarePants.
Dang, bro. Okay.
But hitting the beach, hanging out with some friends. Man, it's been a busy summer, dude.
Busy summer.
Yeah, but I've been good. The family's been good. We're lovely. How about yourself?
Good. I'm great. I talked about this with a client this week, as a client was like, "Hey, I'm not supposed to say I'm good. Like how you feeling? Feeling good? Like
is that your rule for group?
I think it's okay to say that you're feeling good. It's just the idea. Let's explore what the good means.
You're like bullshit.
Yeah. No, I mean like because I think that people get really scared of that word fine. They don't want to say fine.
What's the acronym for fine?
Fucked up, insecure, neurotic, and
afraid. Oh no, it's fine. And emotional.
No, fucked up. No, that was fear, isn't it? Wait, say. Let's spell fine.
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 Yeah. So I don't want to cuss on the show. What did you say it was?
I don't know, dude. I think we're doing the fear.
Oh,
boy. We sound terrible right now. We can't spell either. I was like, there's not even but people.
Someone tell us. There's an acronym for fine. There is.
I don't think so. I'm sure somebody can come up with it now. But like they're kind of allergic to that word fine. So like good is like better than fine. It's another 4-letter word, but I'll still jump on you about that.
Will you be like bullshit?
No, I won't say bull. Well, fine. I'm like, give me more than fine. If somebody says good, what does good mean?
So you want to roll their eyes at you like, oh, dude, leave me alone.
I'm sure I get a lot of eye rolls, not only in group sessions, but in life. But
that makes me so insecure, dude. I need to be liked. I like to be liked.
Yeah. Well, get used to it because not everybody's gonna like you. So another one that I was recently calling a client out on was they kept saying like they felt I know it's weird. We've talked about that.
Oh yeah.
I have no problem with it's weird, but sometimes I think weird is like a deflection instead of saying like it's weird. It's because it's uncomfortable. So let's explore uncomfortable. Those words to me, they're great and like short conversations, small talk, but if we're doing Mr. Therapist and the counselor conversations, those 4-letter words, well, weird's a 5-letter word, but let's go a little bit deeper.
Let's do it.
As we'll go this week a little deeper on the episode, but first I wanted to talk about this summer. I think there's really a couple big television shows, one big movie, a couple big movies that came out this summer. But you've been watching The Bear season 3 yet?
Yeah, I caught it after you told me it was back on season 3.
Right.
So yeah,
you're insider there on the hot shows, right?
You know what? Me and the wife, we watched that show, and lately we haven't been watching shows together just because everything's been I feel like no good shows are out. And
I've had that same feeling too. Yeah.
And so she's watched what is it Grey's Anatomy, and I was
my gosh, it's only in season 36, right?
Yeah.
Shit.
So, but since you told us it's back, man, because of you, me and my wife are back to watching the show together.
Right. What's your feeling on season 3?
It's I've only watched 2 episodes in. The Bear, it was not too good. The first episode was a little what's going on right now?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell when they were describing the moment versus when it was in the past, and so I was very confused, and I didn't like it. Season 2 got a little better though. I mean, episode 2 got a little better.
I will say the reason I wanted to bring up these two, we're going to talk about The Bear just for a minute because we watched that and you watch Inside Out too. I think they both are a reflection of addiction. Well, not so much addiction, I'd say more mental health, right? But I wanted to talk about both of these shows because I think there's a real focus on that. Season 3 kind of missed the mark a little bit. I think that they tried to capture what they did in season 1, season 2. Mm-hmm. I mean, season 1 and season 2 are such great seasons. I suggest anybody watching it for particular reasons of they talk about family roles on the show. They've talked about Carmi, who's played by Jeremy Allen White. He goes to codependent meetings because in the show his brother dies, commits suicide, and he's an addict. And also, we talked about his mom being a functioning addict. So it's a great show. It's very intense. It almost plays on your anxiety at times. I feel like the show has.
Totally.
I remember
he does a good job of embodying that OCD, perfectionistic sort of it's damn, dude, it's intense. But you kind of want to root for it. It's I see why he needs that, you know?
Yeah, I mean the character that he plays, Carmen. It's he is he is the chef, he is the guy, and but yeah, all those characteristics on top of the dysfunctional family. I think it's a great show to watch. But I remember the one episode, the episode where they did the family. It was the family Christmas dinner. I remember watching that show and I was I need a few minutes before I go to bed because I'm that's just it was a very intense show. A lot of it it's anxiety driven, but great acting, great show. Season 3, like I said, fell off a little bit. It still suggests checking out for the reasons I'd mentioned.
Yeah.
So
there's I feel like Carm was going through a lot of grief.
Yeah.
A lot of and I don't know if you recognize
to mention
this.
that, the grief aspect too of losing his brother. So
and losing his brother. Did they lose Dad too? Was Dad a part of the picture?
I think Dad had passed away. For some reason that's it's not. He's not a core person, but he's not present. So I think he did pass away. I don't know why. Yeah,
and but wasn't there a scene where Dad was a part of the cooking of the fish?
No,
and it was
no, that's not it. Yeah, he's not that one.
But anyway, they're going through the grief process. I feel like Carmi really tries to work the way he's processing his grief and all the issues in his life is by getting more and more invested in becoming a really good chef, right? And it's the more shit he goes through, the more he gets super immersed in his career. And so it's I think that does a good job of really showing what a lot of us do, I guess, in real society. So we get lost in our work, we get lost in our something that we can control, right? When we're going through something uncontrollable.
Something about a passion too, it becomes our primary focus. Unfortunately, other relationships, friendships, significant others, we lose sight of that because we're so driven sometimes. So, but it does play into that, the passion, but not only that, but then the obsession it becomes. And I wouldn't say addiction because I don't know if it's it's not more fit. It's not as physical, but still the drive of somebody, what they're willing to lose and not be present for. It's reflected on the show. So still, like I said, it's season 1, season 2. It's still worth checking out. Like I mentioned, you took the family to go see Inside Out too, right?
I did. Yeah.
So
that was good. It was middle of the work day, and I was like, I got a few hours here to kill. So we went to go see Inside Out 2.
Well, with Inside Out, I was going to mention the first one came out like 2013. There's been quite a like distance between the two like movies, but I remember when it came out, I would play it in addiction treatment center, mental health treatment centers. Is like I would play that movie as like a basic introduction to emotions for clients, because as you know, clients are not very in touch with their emotions, and like they know your happiness, maybe / joy and sadness, but it was a good like idea to talk about these are your feelings and to experience that and talk about that. But did it do? I wanted to know, like, did your daughter, like, I know she's 5, 4?
Yeah, she's 5.
Yeah,
5,
so like, I don't know if she really wrapped her head around the idea of the movie, like what it's supposed to be.
Very basic levels, I think. Like with Inside Out 2, you know, like they talk about more complex emotions.
Yeah,
she's, you know, aware of, but I think she was more bought into just the storyline, right? Of like, you know, these characters. But yeah, it was. But it's good to watch, because as we're watching it, it's like it sets up different types of conversations. Like there's this main character that is having all these emotions, that's going through different experiences in her life that one day Mia will go through.
What is that? What's the emotion?
Character. So the main character.
Oh, you're talking about the girl.
Yeah, the girl.
Riley, right?
She's going through puberty. She goes to camp.
They do puberty and
Inside Out? Puberty,
wow,
dude.
Okay.
Spoiler alert. And so it kind of sets you up for thinking about, like, how are we gonna, you know, talk about these experiences with our daughter when they go through it, you know?
Right.
And so I think maybe it's a show. I saw it more of like a show that was beneficial for parents to watch.
Okay. Yeah.
So they can understand, you know, what kids go through. And sometimes as a parent, you want to label or put like a label on emotions, right? Like if your daughter's crying, it's like, don't cry, stop that, you know, like that's not good. Or if they go through a negative experience, you sort of want to like, oh, don't think about that.
Right.
But Inside Out 2 does a good job of showing you, you know, that like emotions aren't about positive or negative.
Yeah.
Like all emotions are important. They all have a function of some way.
Right.
And we got to learn how to tolerate, how to accept, and when to pay attention to them, right? And so it's a really good way of explaining some of that stuff.
Helps, like you said, parents that maybe that want to show their kids certain things, or as new parents at some point we'll experience that with our kids and going through puberty. So yeah, it's a good like educational, entertaining model.
Yeah.
So,
and I think as parents, like, you know, we go through our own experiences with our parents. My parents didn't know how to deal with emotions, and so they've left an imprint on me of how to handle emotions. And so I got to recognize some of the healthy ways and the unhealthy ways to process feelings.
Yeah.
And it's hard. It's easier to do when you're talking about your own feelings, but when you're looking at your kid, all this like generational experiences from your past can really like take over, right? And so I've talked about many times how my kid is playing soccer, she's having fun, but she's not scoring goals. And I'm like, come on, like you gotta get in there, you know. And so it really, as a parent, you got to be mindful of some of that stuff. So
I've been watching Inside Out, the first one, a lot, because my daughter sometimes will just throw on like a certain movie here and there, and I watch Inside Out with her, and like joy, so she knows when people are sad, so it's like kind of cool to see her already, like she knows like the core, the base, not all the basic emotions, but scared or like mad, so we'll go through like little facial gestures. But that movie, man, really can pull on the heartstrings. I just I was watching Inside Out 1, and they're like going through, like, you know, she, as the character Riley, she's starting to lose, like, you know, she's getting older and certain memories are going away, core memories. And I just was looking at my daughter, thinking about like all the stuff, like, you know, she's not gonna remember.
Miss Rachel.
I know she's not even really. They're not even playing that anymore. She's not playing that anymore. I miss her. I miss Miss Rachel. But it's man. I tell you what, like that's. I'm just super sensitive anyway since I've had a kid.
You know what's funny, dude, is so me and my wife, we talked about parenting styles before, right? Me and my wife have different parenting styles, just like most couples do. And so because I'm a therapist, I'm sort of more attuned with like trying to find out like the emotion behind the child's behavior. My wife is a little more behaviorally approached, like, no, you gotta just do this, and we got to correct the behavior. So sometimes it'll kind of create some tension in our relationship. So there was times where like we were watching the movie and it was like, so the message behind it was like, oh, there's these feelings that we really have to like accept even when they're really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Like anger, sadness. And I'm just kind of like looking at my wife like, is she getting this? Is she like...
So once again, saying like this movie could be for anybody that really maybe struggles with like, just looking at their emotions or experiencing or feeling their emotions. As you said, like so many people feel like, the negative and the positive. These emotions are negative. These emotions are positive. No, it's just your feels. Yeah. So just take them all in.
If anyone's doing therapy or thinking of doing therapy too, there's a modality that's very hot and popular right now. It's called internal family systems, IFS. And the movie does a good job of showing kind of how you do some of that work with IFS. And IFS, what it does is it helps you gain an understanding and awareness of these different parts of you that are derived by feelings. And so sometimes for someone's angry, they're like, oh, I just don't want to be angry anymore, And so you kind of really help them understand that the anger's there for a purpose, for a reason, and like step into, why is the anger here? How can we accept that the anger's here, have a different relationship with it? And so IFS kind of does that through therapy, like helping you understand different parts of yourself and how to accept them, how to treat them better, so that you build generally a better relationship with yourself is what we're talking about. So
I feel like looking back on our conversation about FINE, can we just Google the FINE acronym?
All right, so FINE is an acronym that means freaked out, insecure, neurotic, and emotional. So
cool.
There you
covered
go.
It then. So
I covered it, dude.
You did. You got it.
I was right.
You were right.
Say it again.
You're always right. What was fail mean? Was that
fail? Fear. Fail is first attempt in learning.
You just okay.
Yeah.
Nothing. All right, let's go into the questions here. You guys submitted a lot of questions.
So many questions.
So many questions for this episode that we're not going to get to a lot of them, but we really appreciate that. The only reason I'm wearing glasses is to read these questions in a quick...
He hates those glasses.
Actually, no. I picked out these glasses. I said at the beginning of the episode that I like the style of the glasses. So the first question, we want to give a shout out to who submitted the question? One of our VIPs, as you said.
One of our very important listeners, VILs, Sarah Kindred. Thank you for the question, Sarah.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing the show, too.
So she asked, like, when you are running, like, a individual session, I think, in therapy, how would you end the session without sounding super cheesy, which I'll jump all over that word in about a moment here, or socially awkward, which I can't help but feel like socially awkward all the time. So how would you wrap that up?
How would I wrap up the session? So, man, I feel like... So, Sarah, you're getting your hours and you're kind of in this experience of learning. And so I would say that the awkwardness of wrapping up a session is a thing that comes with the pie of therapy, right? Like, as you're growing and as you're developing... especially with some clients who maybe are harder to stop, it can get awkward, and that's okay. Just like embrace the awkward and just practice, different ways of closing out the session. I think you'll get your rhythm there. But some examples that I do currently that kind of have stuck with me is like I'll hint at, when I know there's a client who takes a little bit longer to end in their process, I'll kind of hint at us ending session. I'll be like, oh, as we wrap up, we only got a couple minutes here, but, and then I'll reflect a little bit of what the session was about. Then they'll usually say something else, and then I'll be like, yeah, so we got to end, unfortunately. When do you want to schedule the next appointment? It's kind of abrupt, but it kind of needs to be that way. And I feel like over time I've really understood that, clients know that we're on a timed limit, right? And they understand that. And I think most of them understand that we probably have other clients that we're seeing after this anyway. So I think it's okay. It's okay to be a little abrupt, especially if you've been compassionate, empathic, throughout your session, like, you have to kind of shift tones a little bit towards the end. So that's my answer.
I would just say with Sarah too, listen, the cheesy thing, like, I don't believe in the cheesy. If you believe in something, if you feel a certain way, like if you feel good, I think I was introduced to that word, like, oh, you're coming off as cheesy. Like, if that, to me, cheesy is just, get rid of that word. It's you're genuine. So if in the moment you're working with somebody and you got to shut it down for whatever, like you guys have a certain, time session, you got to wrap it up, but like, you're not cheesy. You are who you are. We all can be a little awkward at times. And I realize maybe if you're like in the middle of like this very deep, powerful conversation, you're like, we got to go. But I don't even, I think that it's just, it's a part of conversation sometimes, is like, it does feel uncomfortable to stop something so abruptly, but it happens. And like I said, it's a lot of it's just believing in yourself and realizing like, hey, I'm just, God, I'm doing good here. So the word cheesy, I try to disregard it a lot these days. So I had a group session this past week. I was on this past Friday, but I remember I was like, I got to come up with this closing statement at the end of the group, like to tie it all together. And then we got there. I did the closing statement, and it was okay. It wasn't like my greatest or anything like that. But I know there's been times when I've like stopped the group abruptly, and they kind of like, they almost pause, and they're like, "That's it." It's almost like we're out of time, but they also recognize like, yeah, life goes on, and this is the end of this, and we'll continue at another time. But I think a lot of it's just believing in yourself. Not to say like you're still going to feel awkward. That's a natural experience that a lot of people deal with. Until you won't,
and at some point it'll just be very natural. Right?
I guess sometimes too, if somebody like brings it up, like, we're just stopping, that could be a little awkward, but then just explain like, yo, this is what's happening right now. So that's a confidence thing, right?
I have a colleague who will actually, they will charge if we can spend a little more time on this, but I'm gonna have to charge you.
I'm gonna bring this colleague on the show and talk to that person about it right now. So.
Heck yeah, let's do it. But yeah, so you just gotta establish your routine with the clients that you're working with, and don't be afraid to mess up. Step into this discomfort. I think it's important. So
right. Next question was given to my boy Eggs here. He's been listening to the show a lot, so I really appreciate that. So code word for, I can't give out his last name. So
what's up, Eggs?
So Eggs asked me a question that's like brought up a lot, and you've heard this a lot before, but I think it was a cool time to explore it because it is a great question. Chicken or the egg? He was asking, what usually comes first? Is it the addiction or is it the mental health issue? I don't know if you want to speak on it first.
Yeah, you want me to?
Yeah, go for it.
So chicken or the egg? I think everyone's different, and I know it's probably not the answer you want to hear, but everybody's different. I think research has shown us that it's a combination of mental health and and the pathways that you built when you become addicted and repeatedly use a substance. So, for some people, that's important for them to figure out like what came first. As you step into your story, your recovery story, and learn about that and expand that, I think it becomes an important thing to look at. A part of me wants to challenge it a little bit and be like, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. Like treatment, how we move forward, either way you're going to be addressing mental health issues, because if you are really addicted, if you are that far into a substance, using a substance, chemical dependency, then there's most likely 100% of the time there's going to be a mental health component to where you are today. And so in order to recover, you have to address that. But I would say everyone's different.
I'm going to make a bold statement here. I'm going to go on the side of, I believe mental health is probably a key component to it all. I mean, you hear about the family history of people passing down, like addiction, the family traits, but like, I don't know. I do know, I feel, and I guess it's more of an opinion more than anything, is that like, I think that everybody has some type of like mental health issue. I'm not saying it has to be like a severe trauma, It could be like an abandonment issue. I think that we're modeled a lot by like what we see growing up. And even in like the most typical normal family, I think there's a constant comparison. People might feel like, hey, why can't I be like my mom or be like my dad? And this could be like personality wise. And I think the mental health component is huge. It's sometimes I'll have these conversations where I'm like, I think this person's just a basic alcoholic, and it's almost kind of a rare bird when you get that these days. And maybe we are looking more deeper into things, but I think that a lot of it is mental health driven, and I think that the addiction, like I said, they're tied closely together. And most don't get me wrong, addiction can bring on more depression or more trauma or more guilt, more shame. But like I think the mental health is like, I think it's the trigger right there.
What is it? What does that even mean? Like this guy's a basic alcoholic, or what did you say?
I've heard people say that before. Like I think that's kind of dismissing people. Like, listen, this guy's just a natural alcoholic. Like his mom was that way, his dad was this way. Yeah. So like, no, it's a common thing of like, it's almost like, can we not bring up a diagnosis in some ways?
Yeah.
So I think it's just I think people are always trying to crack, not always, but people do want to crack the case. They want to know, like, well, how did this all start? So people, and we ask people to look back all the time. So I don't want to discredit that, but
because the past is important for
the past is
treatment.
important. So like that's why they know when they look back. So what was it? Like, can you tell me? Like, I think maybe it relieves them if they're like, I'm just drinking this. I was born to be an alcoholic. I was born to be a drug addict. Like it can somehow dismiss like any other things that they.
Yeah,
I think it almost gives them a clarity which they're looking for. But
I don't like that though, because I think even if this guy's just an alcoholic and it's in his genes because mom and dad were alcoholics and grandparents were alcoholics, like that guy's environment was impacted by that, right? And there had to be some mental health repercussions because of that. So it's whoever's saying that, calling you out right now.
I think that we could sneak in one more question here, Mr. Therapist. You had mentioned the anxiety thing. Let me find the question here as I'm scrolling, because it doesn't matter. I still get lost no matter what, glasses or not. Tips on how to ground yourself from anxiety.
Ooh, I like that one. I think so. There's a few things. I love using breathing techniques, and I love talking about breathing techniques with clients, and use it myself too in my practice. So I have a couple for you. I got a breathing technique called block breathing. Have you heard of block breathing?
I have. Can you kind of explain it to the viewers what block breathing is? Yeah. So
block breathing is an exercise where I'll explain how you do it. So you have to do slow breaths, and you start by inhaling slowly through your nose. And make sure that inhale lasts about 4 to 5 seconds. So you inhale through your nose, 4 to 5 seconds in duration. At the end of that inhale, you hold your breath at the top for about 4 to 5 seconds. And then you slowly exhale through your mouth for about 4 to 5 seconds in length. At the bottom of that exhale, you hold your breath for about 4 to 5 seconds. And that's one cycle of a block breath, right? And so if you do like 10 to 20 of these cycles, you'll start to feel a little numb, a little lightheaded, a little high on life, but it's grounding. It takes you out of your head and into your body a little more. So that's one of them. That's called block breathing. Another one I share is really famous. One's called 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Have you heard of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1?
No. No, I have actually. Yeah.
5,
that's
4,
not
3,
the one
2,
I
1.
thought you were going to spit. That's all. Because there's another one.
There's another one. Yeah. There's a lot. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is sort of like a way to build awareness into the present moment. And so very many variations of it. I'll just say one of them right now. So you look at 5 things in the room where you currently are that you can see, and you spend about 30 seconds to a minute really looking at it, observing it, describing it in detail. You pick 4 things that you can feel, some of your jeans, maybe your fingertips, and you spend about 30 seconds just kind of feeling it and noticing the sensation. 3 things that you can, 3 things that you can hear. So maybe you hear like dead air, maybe you hear the road outside, maybe you hear someone talking. You spend about 30 seconds just really noticing, taking in the detail. 2 things that you can smell. And so if you have a candle, you can really smell it. Take a minute to bring it in. 1 thing that you can taste. And so you spent about 30 seconds just noticing that one thing that you're tasting. And so that's another way to just bring your sensory into the picture, help bring you into the moment and out of your head and into the present moment. So that's two exercises. And then at the end of the show here, you can send us an email if you want more things or something that like specific to what you're going through. I could send you a couple more tools there for you.
You think we can knock out one more question?
Yeah, dude, we can do anything.
We can do anything right now. That's right. So the last one I do want to spit here is, how do you keep your client accountable to change? How do you keep your client accountable to change? And that was asked more from like a perspective, and we can look at it different perspectives, but one from like a parent to a teenager if they're in session. So
yeah,
you can't.
It's done.
I think that here's the thing. I believe that for people to be accountable, they're going to want some accountability. And that's got to be very difficult for somebody who's like a parent who's wanting their kid or teenager to like to do something that they're challenging to do, but they don't want to make that movement. But I see it in typical like treatment for addiction as well, though, is like, you know, some people don't want to be accountable. Some people don't want to change. So it's a real challenge, but I guess there has to be like at least some effort in that. So you can't force it upon them to be accountable, right?
Yeah, I mean, I have when you said some people don't want to change, I kind of, it brought up this idea, because I used to work in treatment as well, and kind of brought up the image of like a 18-year-old kid who's just like not even listening to you, right? He's kind of there, unmotivated. And I think that kid does want to change. You know, I just think it's hard to find what motivates that person. Right. You know, so I think I have a general belief, and this is maybe a bold statement I'll be making, but like that everybody wants to thrive. Everybody wants to feel good and be in a healthy place mentally and emotionally. And when someone is looking like they're disengaged or looking like they're not motivated, I think it's the person who's interpreting that, the therapist who's looking at them and saying that kid's unmotivated, doesn't want to change. I think it's their job to like maybe look a little harder for that motivation, right? Like, what's motivating this kid to stay alive right now? Yeah. You know what I mean? And there is something there that's motivating them. Maybe it's avoiding pain. Maybe it's something that like you haven't found yet. But yeah, that's kind of what I think about. This question was about a parent taking their kid to therapy. And so just
that's what it was. Okay, that was like more of the core. Okay, yeah.
Yeah. So, but I mean, which is, it's, you know, I think it's another thing that you got to think about is like, as a parent, when you want your kid to do therapy, a lot of times what I see is parents have an agenda. They're sending their kids to therapy because maybe they're talking back, they're not listening, they're hard to deal with at home, and so they want some change to happen. And a lot of times the kid is not on the same agenda as you. They don't have the same goal that you do, right? Maybe they don't see what they're doing is the problem, right?
Yeah.
So someone's going to individual therapy, they're having a different conversation. They're talking about their friends, they're talking about, things that interest them. Yeah. And so I think, if you're a parent sending your kid to therapy and you have the agenda, you want them to work on things, then I always encourage you to be a part of the sessions, right? Do some family therapy so that those things can get addressed, because otherwise it's going to be hard to address them unless your child sees the problem the same way that you see it.
I think another thing that might be important to bring up is just validation. I think it's important for somebody that, like you said, if somebody's trying to take somebody to a therapy session, like a parent is driving a teenager or a kid to go do something they're maybe not feeling so comfortable about doing, it's a lot of times it's validation might help, is at least meeting them where they're at, supporting that, and that might help in the process. I heard this quote by, I'll probably screw it up, but Bukowski said that regarding like hearing good things from people or validation or maybe lacking validation is like if people have been handing you knives or stabs your entire life and all of a sudden somebody hands you over a rose, like it's hard to like hear the good sometimes. So, and a lot of times I would think like when somebody was telling me I need to do something different, it meant I was doing something wrong. So the moment when somebody said, no, it's not wrong, it's just like there's a way that you could be better, it might have been a little more clear of a picture, and I might have been guided in a more appropriate or healthier way. So just remember that, because if you're asking somebody to do something, to make a change, I think a lot of times people feel like they have to change something because it's not the right thing to do or they're doing something bad. So validation, I think, is a huge, huge
we all
key.
need it, man. We do.
That. And sometimes, we're not going to get it a lot of times from other people. And we have to find we have to seek the self-validation. But it doesn't hurt occasionally, especially when you're younger. It helps. It doesn't matter the age. Encouragement, So.
Hey, validation is key for someone to like change a problematic behavior, especially if they're digging their heels in. Is like, how do you get someone to stop resisting? Is like validating their position. It's like, oh, okay, that makes me bring down my guard. And it's like, so
cool, man.
That's the show, right?
That is the show.
Oh my gosh, that is the show. We did it. We survived. Thank you for the questions.
We got more to come.
Please remember to share the show. Please subscribe to this channel. And provide us with some feedback, some questions. Keep sending them in. We got plenty more to answer here for you. Jesse O.
Check in on your friends. Forgot my name, tag it home. Today I'm Jack. Greet you like I give a fuck. Are you surprised by that?